Hey everybody. I thought I would do kind of a topic that has been coming up daily, multiple times daily for me at the workplace. And then I recently did a video on AI that had to do with our beloved fan hobby. If those of you who are subscribed and are watching this know, probably did that video. But this is more of a broader general video on the topic of AI. And I know in our circles, I've definitely a number of folks that subscribe to this channel. I subscribe to their channels, and I've heard them mention AI and how they hate it, and they go off on a tear about it and just rip it in half, and people accuse people of getting dumber, because we rely on AI. I wouldn't say that is totally inaccurate for sure, but I was thinking about these things, and I've been kind of reflecting on what I've been hearing from other channels and people talking about it, and just very emotional responses by people out there. And and look, I think it's awesome that people express themselves one way or the other. That's what's great. And I'm more of a observer, listener when it comes to these things, and then I kind of think about it and reflect, and then that's kind of where eventually I speak. So I was thinking about, like, okay, what other technologies in the past that have been released, and people who have been around, maybe they're middle aged or 30s, 40s or so, and this new technology has come out and it's way different, and it's given an adverse type, reaction or emotion. So it made me think of a story my dad told me, like probably 20, 30 years ago, that when he was a little boy, his father, this was like probably in the 1950s, was getting upset that most of the cars that you would buy had automatic transmissions. He would say people are getting lazy. Like that's not driving. Like driving a vehicle with an automatic transmission. Why would you want that? And his dad would go on a tear about how people are lazy. Now, granted, you can make a whole conversation about people are lazy, but he was just like adamant, very emotional about it. So that kind of like resonated, and I like kind of remembered that my having that conversation with my father years ago on that. And then, just even like, I think back to my time, like what's cool about my generation is I was born before the internet, before smartphones, before cell phones. And during my generation, we're like the unique, my generation, because we saw the world, like we're old enough to remember the world before that stuff, but young enough to, like, when that stuff kind of came to be, we're young enough to embrace the technology, right? So like cell phones in the 90s, they were big and clunky, of course, and then smartphones later on, right? So we were in our 20s and 30s. And then the internet, I was 16 the first time I dialed up on the dial up through AOL. And I was just like, whoa, like this is, when I was young, I used to have to go to the library and use what's called an encyclopedia. And encyclopedia is not one book. It's typically 26 books, one for every letter. The subject is alphabetized, and you go and do a research paper. You have to go to the library and pull it down. And if the encyclopedia is a year old and stuff has happened since then, your information's dated. And then all of a sudden, like, that stuff's online, and you're like, what are these encyclopedias for? So maybe people don't even know what the word encyclopedia means. So I could easily say, hey, when we got online, I could say, you know what, people are lazy. I have to go to like I always went to the library, pulled up the card catalog using the Dewey Decimal System, and walked over to the shelf, took out the books on the subjects I'm researching, got the encyclopedia, made my research paper, like, and then now you're telling me all I need to do is type it in some search box and all the information I need comes right up. I'm I'm gonna say you're lazy. Society's lazy. So like, I think I'm making my point. Like with AI, it's just now the latest generation of people who have been around a significant amount of time before AI are saying people are lazy, people are stupid. Again, I could make a whole nother conversation on lazy, stupid people. Maybe I'll do that. But I'm just saying this has been going on, this type of technology evolution since the beginning of time, and I have found, and I hate to admit it, like we tend to be more rooted into what we came into the world doing and use, and maybe being exposed to how our parents did things, which was even a generation or two back. So we have a soft spot for that, and that's how we want the world to be. And I get it. I believe me, I get it. I think the world was a better place in many ways, shapes, and forms of things back then. The fact that I have a laptop and a smartphone, and I could basically do work like round the clock, versus you physically leave an office at 5 o'clock. You don't come back to anything until you sit down at your desk the next morning. So that wasn't it really hasn't been like that since the early 2000s and 90s and back. You go home on a Friday, you don't, the office could burn down and you wouldn't know about it till Monday. Like, it was a beautiful time, right? So that's just one aspect of it, right? And then the other part of it is, and I want to talk about how I use, for example, ChatGPT. So now, I don't look at this as replacing me or replacing others. However, I am a executive level person at my company, and I've been at the executive level now for more than a decade. And my calendar gets gobbled up by people schedule stuff. They need my help for this. They want me to sit in this meeting, sit in that meeting, but I have stuff I need to get done. I'll give you a perfect example. And I talked about it in a previous video or a recent video I did, taking a look at Vornado's website, and I was talking about tariffs, right? So one of the things that I had to do in my business is write a public communication that would go out to our customers, talking about kind of our position with it and whatnot. And I didn't have any time to do it. Like, I was just so busy with meetings and whatnot. And we are a small company, so it's not like I keep hiring people to take stuff off my plate. So I literally went to ChatGPT and said I would like a customer facing letter, or whatever, emails, or mail letter, but you know what I'm saying, letter with the following points included. And I typed in like 3, 4, I think like it might be like 4 or 5 bullet points, 4 or 5 things I wanted to make clear. It produced it in 5 seconds, probably even faster. I read it, I threw it into a Word document, I rearranged some words, I added some lines or whatever, which took me probably another 5 minutes, and I was done. And I handed it to the marketing person that works for me, and I said, please send this out to our customers, email blast it, done. And the funny thing was, I didn't tell her what I did, and she saw it, and like my boss saw it, and they were like, wow, this is well written, nice job. I'm like laughing. I'm like, all I did was edit something that basically somebody else did. So I considered ChatGPT as my employee, my virtual employee, So it's like I tasked ChatGPT, like, hey, I need you to put this together. Let me just check it before I send it out, have it sent out to customers, done. Another example, we're a small company, so previous roles I've had an HR department that handles like writing job descriptions and whatnot. We're growing, so I created a new role. I needed to create a job description. I had a vision in my head of what I wanted. So I just like scribbled those bullet points, again, like 5 bullet points or so, into the box here. And I asked ChatGPT, said, I need a job description for this role. Please include the 5 bullet points below. And then it sent it to me. And I was reading it and I was like, oh, please also add, it needs to be technical in nature or whatever, so they're making it a technical position. So like it tweaked itself, it edited itself when I asked it to do so. And then same thing, I took 10 minutes and I threw in a Word document. I just did a little formatting, a little editing, threw it up on Indeed, and then got a bunch of applications. So I wouldn't say where we are today with ChatGPT or any AI that it's set it and forget it. Think of it as an employee that works for you, or an assistant that's making your job easier. It's not making you dumber. What I asked it to do, I used to do manually, and it would take me like an hour to and I can write fairly well. Just my career in business, I've had to write a lot of different business documents, reports, presentations, et cetera. So, like, I know what I want to write. I just don't have time to write it and put it together. So I get what people are saying. Like, we do need people to think. Like, think about the invention of calculator. Like, people are like, oh, people are, I remember, here's another example. I remember being in school and a teacher saying, you cannot use calculator for your homework. How will you ever learn to do this? Well, guess what? Since I finished school, I never had to do go somewhere and do like this long equation and show my work. I would need an equation to figure out like something I'm working on. Like, say, I'm trying to understand some numbers for a budget or whatever. I would use Excel and just pump in the formula and have it give me the answer. I don't care I don't need to know the work. I just, so it didn't make me dumber because I knew what I needed. So again, it's a tool, and I think if it's used effectively, it makes you a more effective professional. Now, here's the other part of this too. I could sit here and say, I'm not going to use it. Nope, I am not going to use it. That would be like when the newspapers in the 90s were arrogant and said, we are not going to create a website and put our content online. We are going to stick to the paper format. This internet thing is a fad. It's going to, I'm not making this up. This is what went on, not with everyone, but quite a few newspapers. And they watched their subscriptions dwindle because the advertisers were like, hey, people are going online. That's where we're spending our money. We're not spending our money in print any longer. So therefore, they were less competitive because they weren't getting the ad revenue, because their readers were going to somewhere else online. That's the same thing with this today, with AI. If I choose to, like, you know what, I'm not using this. It's not using it. It's a lazy man's way. Then my competitors, or my counterparts of competitors, are, and they effectively are being more productive because they're churning out more work. And it's so I'm kind of falling by the wayside. That would be like saying I refuse to use a cell phone. I don't like technology. I'm not using a cell phone. Now, there might be some old schoolers out there who are like way older than me, like older than my parents, and I get that. my grandmother, she passed away at the age of 92, 93. She had a cell phone. I mean, anyway. So I just thought I'd do a little example here. Normally for a conversation like this, I would actually be on camera, but I'm sitting in a hotel room and I don't know if I'm sitting at a desk here, but it's not really a good spot to have me on camera in here without the bed and the coffee maker and all that crap. So I thought I would do an example, and I'm just going to make up one that I haven't done yet. So maybe we do something like this. Hi. You don't have to be friendly to it. You don't have to say anything, but I just I've like developed this relationship here. I know it's sad. Hi. I'm gonna make this up. I'm gonna make up everything, so don't hold this to it. I am 30 years old. I wish. 6 feet tall and weigh. I'll just make this up. Pounds. I would like to lose 20 pounds and gain some muscle. How should I proceed? Okay, so that fast, right back. Great goal. Losing 20 pounds while gaining muscle is absolutely achievable with a focused plan involving nutrition, strength training, and cardiovascular activity. Here's a practical and sustainable approach. So far it didn't tell you anything earth-shattering, right? Like, you know that. Your goals. Okay, so it's suggesting I lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Now, I'm just going to tell you from experience, just from like, now one, I wish I was 30 years old, and no, that's not my body weight and all that stuff. But I over the course of my life, I don't want to say manipulate, but like I've gotten very muscular, and there's times where I've really leaned out depending on my goals. Now, typically when I'm leaning out, I have a goal of losing like 1 pound a week. So that because that's sustainable. So that no, I've never asked ChatGPT, so it's not like it's regurgitating stuff. Build muscle, improve strength and body composition. Okay, total weight 200 pounds with improved lean mass. All right, great. So here you go. Nutrition, 80% of the equation. Now, most people would say that's probably pretty obvious. Calorie deficit. So your maintenance calories are around 2,600, 2,800. So that is actually very accurate. Just knowing what I know on the fitness side. So you want to get, this is extremely accurate. Now, most people wouldn't know this. I happen to know it because, like, I know from my own experience, and I'm just extrapolating here. Macronutrients, so it's telling you this. It's giving you a sample day. The irony, this is like kind of like my diet. This is like kind of how I eat, actually. I might cheat and have a cookie now and again. And maybe some ice cream on a weekend. But again, this is not about me. So strength training. So like, this is a very good split, and I've been doing this for years. Very good. So then now it's giving you suggested lifts. So heart health, cardio, recovery habits. So like, I'm telling you, like, this is just an example. And I gave it little information, as you saw. And then you could ask it to elaborate. You could say, let's say, for example, I'll do it. Okay, so upper body push. I know what that means. What do you mean by upper body push? Can you give me some examples, please? Absolutely. Upper body push refers to exercises that work the pushing muscles of the upper body, mainly the chest, shoulders, and triceps. These exercises involve pushing weight away from your body, either horizontally like a bench press or vertically like an overhead press. Examples: barbell bench press, dumbbell bench press, push-ups, incline bench press, chest press. So like it's going on. So say, okay, so it's giving me an example. So this is freaking awesome. Okay, wants me to do 4 sets of benches, 6 to 8 reps, shoulder press, inclines, lateral raises, tricep. So it's even giving, and because I was going to ask it, could you write up a workout? Like, so with Google, on the other hand, like you could Google it and it would give you like articles and like blogs and things people have suggested or whatnot. This is like legit telling you what you can do. And then you can ask clarifying questions. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up here, but I just wanted to give my take on this. And I do think there is legit, I understand there's legit apprehension about artificial intelligence potentially taking over and all of that, right? Like, I don't think we're there yet, but one could argue that we could be on our way. That's possible. But I'm just talking about, really the point of this video is the here and now today. Like, I'm not talking about the Skynet and, you know, dropping bombs and, you know, Terminators going back through time and trying to kill John Connor and Sarah Connor and all that. I get that. And if someone were to turn off the guardrails on this stuff, and that's basically what happened with Skynet, they let it take over, then you got that problem. But I had an interesting, I actually asked ChatGPT all that stuff, like, will you ever take over like Skynet? And it knew exactly what I was talking about. It actually responded by saying, Terminator, the movie Terminator is a great reference to how AI can like go out of control if it falls into the wrong hands and the guardrails and ethics programs are like all turned off or removed or whatever. It says, I don't have that capability. I asked it to access my Facebook page to pull up a picture of me. It says it cannot access other like programs. So that was reassuring. But I do get, you know, where it could seem a little scary. But if you look at it as a tool, look at it as a fancy database and interface. It's taking all the information that's out there, and it's like that you or I would do, except it would take us a day or hours, and it's just responding basically in a summary format with a bit of a personality. You know, like it just wrote, great goal, losing 20 pounds while gaining muscle is absolutely achievable. So it, you know, has a little personality there, but that's obviously programming, and it's summarizing what you asked it, where it would have taken you hours. So again, I am just trying to look at it as practical use. I'm trying to also use it in a way that I suddenly don't look where I'm at in my career. I suddenly don't look, not physically look, but seem professionally out of touch or suddenly dinosaur or behind the times, right? As a 40-something-year-old, I'm still trying to stick with it, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job because this tool has been awesome. Okay, well, I want to say, if you hung out with me for this conversation, and it's totally okay to disagree with me, I would love to see it in the comments. If you agree with me, cool too. Love to continue the conversation, and definitely want to read what you have to say, and we'll respond to all your comments. And if you haven't, like and subscribe, and occasionally we do these off-topic topics. We'll see you soon.